Wow, a fantastic and very uplifting array of songs and stories and inspirational messages. Dudu, thank you so much for an amazing concert. And I know these are difficult times, and so we got the format right, and it's such a joy to see you. Welcome. I know it's quite late in Israel as well, so thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Reb Dudu, I wanted to ask you perhaps a few questions over the next few moments that we have with you. The first is you shared such a moving story together of your relationship with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, including some footage. And I wondered whether you might elaborate perhaps on some of the detail of the challenges surrounding your Broadway role, the observance of Shabbat, and the connection to a tzaddik of our times.
Well, you know that my connection with Chabad starts in 1932 with my mother, when my grandmother came to hospital and they wanted to have an abortion when my mother was supposed to be born. And they wanted to stop the pregnancy right there because there was danger to the mother, and they said that the baby, nothing to talk about the baby. And my grandmother asked her sister Leah to go and pray for her in one of the synagogues in Riga. It was the 14th of January, and Leah went and looked for a synagogue in the middle of the night. She looked in one synagogue, it was closed, the other one was also closed. It was freezing cold, snowy, winds, trees were falling around. And then the third synagogue opened up, the door was open, and she walked in and she went right away to the Aron Kodesh, and she started to cry. And a woman, which was there, probably the cleaning lady, she came to her and she said, "Why are you crying?" And she told her the story about her sister, that it's the firstborn child, and the doctors say that this pregnancy has to stop immediately, otherwise there's danger to the mother and to the baby. And the cleaning lady took her to the Rebbe's house, the Rayatz, then the Friedrich Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, the Rayatz, and she put in a kvittel, and after a couple of minutes, there was a kvittel came out from the Rebbe, telling Hashem Yisborach soll euch helfen, and alles wird sein geschure, Hashem will help you, and everything is going to be okay. And a lebendige gesinnte gesunde Kind will be born, and a lively baby, healthy, will be born. And she took this piece of paper, she ran to the hospital, and the doctors came around running to her, telling her that they don't understand what happened, but half an hour ago, a regular birth started, and a little girl was born. That was my mother. So this is our first connection with Chabad, actually. And then when I was negotiating to do Les Miserables, as Jean Valjean, Les Miserables on Broadway, before I came to London, of course, I did it in London too. But when I went to Broadway, Cameron McIntosh was the producer, you know, the biggest producer in the world. And he said to me that he would like me to come to do the show on Broadway. And I said, well, I'd love to. There's nothing more. I want to do more, but I know it'll be impossible because I don't work Friday nights and Saturday matinees. And he said, but this is not work. You come, you sing, and you go home. So I said, that's a long story. Anyway, he said to me, let me see what I can do. And then he left Israel and he went back to America. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing happened. I never heard from him. After 5 months, my mother saw that I'm, starting to get depressed. And she said to me, why don't you go to New York and speak to the Rebbe?
Wow.
I said to her, Mom, what am I going to talk to the Rebbe about? Broadway? I mean, people are coming to me with such problems, She said to me, look, this is the biggest problem in your life now, right? That's what you want to do. You want to do Les Mis on Broadway, right? Go talk to the Rebbe. So I said, all right, I'll go to talk to the Rebbe. So I went to New York, but then the Rebbe already didn't see in privacy people, unless there was one way to get to the Rebbe, and that was to become a godfather for a Russian baby who came uncircumcised to America. So I was sitting there in the dark room in Crown Heights, and I'm waiting for the baby to come in. And the door opens, and a big zlob comes in, like 6'5". And I'm waiting for the pram to come in. I'm looking for the baby, you know. And I said to him, "Where's the baby? Where's the baby?" He said, "Baby." He said, "Me, baby." I said to the rabbi, "There's no way I'm holding this guy while you doing what you do. No way." They said, "Don't worry about it. Well, you don't see anything. Just hold his head." And I want to tell you that his head was very heavy, you know. So when they finished everything, after 5 minutes, it was all done. Both of us went to the Rebbe. He went to the Rebbe to get the blessing after his bris, the baby of 43 years old. Wow. And I was supposed to go and to talk to the Rebbe about Broadway. And I have no idea what I'm going to say. I didn't know, I had no clue what I'm going to say to the Rebbe. Anyway, then after he blessed the baby, he turned to me and he said, Shalom Aleichem. And I just said, you know, Rabbi, do you know Les Miserables? He smiled at me and he said, "Of course I know Les Miserables." I said, I forgot that this rabbi had like 8 doctorates, you know, from the Sorbonne in Paris, you know. So I was so happy to see that he knows what I'm talking about. And I said, Rabbi, you know, they want me on Broadway, but I told them that I will not do it without Shabbos, without Friday night and Saturday matinees, you know, that I can't play these shows. And he looked at me, and I think that this was one of my highlights of my life, really, because it changed actually my life. And he said to me, he held my hand, and he said in Yiddish, "Halt sich stark mit Yiddishkeit." It meant hold strongly to your Jewishness. Don't be ashamed to say that you don't work Friday nights and Saturday matinees. And alles wird sein gut. Everything is going to be okay. And I left. But the eyes, I will never forget the eyes that looked at me, and he was like speaking to me through his eyes, right into my kishkes, right into myself. And 3 days later, I received a call from Cameron McIntosh that I can come and start rehearsing the show on Broadway. And I want to tell you that I thought that from now on I'm going to play in every major show on Broadway, you know, and I said, well, it's going to open the door. Yeah, it opened a lot of doors for me all over the world. And I played the biggest venues in the world. But on Broadway, never happened till I came in, and never happened after Les Mis. It never happened. And it took me years to understand that I did it. I got the part there only because of the blessing of the Rebbe. If the Rebbe will not give me a blessing for this, I would never do it. And for me, it's really, I can't tell you what it did for my life, what it did for my career. It changed my life, of course. It changed my career. And for this, I'm always grateful. And always, the Rebbe is always on my mind. And the Rebbe is always there when I come to New York. There's not one single time that I come to New York and I don't visit the Rebbe, and I don't visit the 770. And I like Chabad because I really think that what Chabad is doing is the greatest thing on earth. And I don't know how many people are watching us and how many supporters of Chabad are watching us, but I want to tell you, this is the time of test. This is the time when God put you into a test. This is the time to support Chabad. When times are bad, when times are not good, and it's not good all over the world, not only in England and Israel and America, it's all over the world. And I want to tell you that what Chabad is doing is to see that the children of today will be the Jews of tomorrow. And for this, open up your hearts, open up your pockets, and support Chabad.
Thank you, Dudu. This is
you cannot
unsolicited appeal, a Yom Kippur appeal, a Kol Nidre appeal.
Yeah, well, this is the Kol Nidre appeal.
No,
unfortunately.
but listen, Dudu, what you said is what you shared is very powerful, and I wanted just to dive in a little bit more to what you said. They basically organized the whole schedule so that you had an alternative, you
No,
had an alternate player who did Shabbats, or
this is another story that when I came in for the first time to my dressing room, I saw on the dressing room, it was written in big golden letters, Dudu Fisher, Jean Valjean. And then underneath my name, they had another name. And it says, I mean, management wrote it. They wrote it because I was really excited. I didn't know what to expect from the rest of the cast. You know, how are they going to accept me? Because I'm different. I'm wearing a yarmulke, and I'm not eating everything everybody eats. I'm not drinking everything everybody drinks. I'm different. So I was very nervous about the other members of the cast. How are they going to accept me? And everybody else does 8 shows a week. I'm doing only 6 shows a week. So underneath my name on the door, management wrote J.C. Sheets, that was his name, Shabbos Goy.
So they were very familiar with the lingo. They understood very well.
Yeah.
By the way, Dudu, I'm sure quite a few of them were Jewish, and you must have made a very deep impression on the management, on the producers, on those in the background.
Absolutely. Also, also a lot of the players, a lot of the actors were Jewish people. You know, and the Chabad tank used to come on every holiday on Purim. The Chabad tank came and gave us some schnapps to have, you know, some vodkas, and everybody drank. I used to do the Avdole every Saturday night after the show, and you know, I did whatever. I put mezuzah on my door, you know, on my dressing room door. So I did everything I can, you know, to see that, to spread a little bit of the ruach, of the spirit of Chabad.
But Dudu, you know, it strikes me that this story is very powerful, because here you have a young man whose greatest ambition and aspiration would have been to play Broadway. The producer, the most powerful producer, arguably, comes to see you and interview you and give you the, you know, probe, and then they like you and they invite you. Where did you get the strength of character, the strength of the courage? It must have been an immense, wearying, draining and exhausting existential decision. You literally had to choose in that moment between the break of a lifetime and keeping Shabbos. Where did you get the strength from to tell her, or to tell, excuse me, the fellow, that you cannot accept the role unless we work their schedule around you? You were an unknown entity to some extent at the time. Where did you get the koyach? And I would venture to say that the Rebbe blessed your koyach, meaning he saw in you somebody who had the strength and thus was deserving of that break and opened up the tzinor, the channel from Shamayim. But where did you get the strength from?
It's not easy, but I think that it's because of the education that I received at home and the dedication for Jewishness, you know, that I received from my father. Is a Holocaust survivor, and to see him, you know, saying all those years, you know, may he rest in peace. Why me? Why was I saved? You know. Mm-hmm. So I think that it has to do with the education that you got from home, and I think that also, you know, you make up your mind what you want to do, mm-hmm. And I don't want to tell you how many jobs I lost because of Shabbos, yeah. Because I lost many jobs. But you know, this is the way you take it. And I'm getting a lot of emails, you know, from young performers, young actors, asking me, how was it possible? You know, how is it? What did I do? And I said to them, look, you have to be very strong, because sometimes you get the hammer on your head. You know, when you say you can't, and they say, all right, so you stay home. But many years later, I asked Cameron McIntosh in London. I met him in London actually, and I said to him, Cameron, why did you do it for me? Because I wanted to understand really. He was not Jewish; he's Catholic. I mean, I don't know if he's religious or not religious, but he's Christian. And I said to him, why did you do this for me? What was the reason? Because no other producer accepted this, you know, yeah, many producers that wanted me for other shows. And when I said, look, but I'm not playing Friday nights and Saturday matinees, they said, all right, we're sorry. So Cameron McIntosh, why did you fought? He had fights with all the equities, the actors' equities and the theater equities. He had to fight all of them because nobody accepted the rule that the main, that the lead role on Broadway will not play for Friday nights and Saturday matinees. So he said to me, look, there are a couple of reasons. First of all, he said, I love you. Secondly, he said, I think that you are one of the best Valjeans in the world.
Wow.
And he said, when I had the ad in the New York Times, a full-page ad, that Dudu Fisher is coming to do Jean Valjean, to play Jean Valjean on Broadway, he said, I sold $2 million of tickets in 2 weeks. Wow. And why? So what did he gain? He gained, and he said, all the chosen, he calls us the chosen. He said, all the chosen that saw already the show bought tickets to see Dudu Fisher in the show. So all those people who are like dead for him, I mean, nobody's gonna come see it again. Maybe some of them would, but many people who saw the show already bought tickets to see the show again.
Because you were Israeli, Jewish, you think it was like one of ours has made it type of thing?
All of them together. I think because I was Israeli, because I was Jewish, and a lot of people wanted to see because it was, I mean, they talked about it in the media in America. On Channel 4, they had a story about me. Channel 5 had a story. And they spoke about the fact that I'm not working Friday night and Saturday.
So it was a story. It was a sensation. It was an amazing example of a person who stands. By the way, that's the story that really resonates with people, a person of principle. And I think, but that's an amazing story. It's an amazing story. And
It is. I agree with you. And I think this is some of those things I'm going to take with me to the other world after 120. And this is something that I have to show as a ticket to heaven.
Wow, that's very powerful. Because this is the time of year where we think about Kama Yavrun, Kama Yibareun, etc. And ultimately, our sages teach that when we turn to Hashem and we say, I am yours, I'm here to serve, I'm here to be your ambassador, Hashem gives us...
That's exactly what it is. Everything is godness. I mean, Akol Elokut. Akol Elokut around you. Whatever you do, whatever happens in the world. And I believe that the corona is also happening for good reasons because God cannot be bad. There's no bad things coming from up there. So if we're suffering now for something, there must be a good reason. And I'm telling you, I'm putting everything in his hands. And every time, of course, I'm asking the rabbi also to help praying, but everything is in God's hands. And that's it. You cannot fight nothing. Because, on Rosh Chodesh, when we bench, yeah, and we ask God to fulfill our desire, our heart's desire for good. So it says, why for good? Why it says for good? I mean, your heart desire wants good. And the answer is that we don't know what's good for us. We never know what's good for us. Some things that we think good for us are turning out to be very bad. And sometimes when you think that the whole world collapsed and you lost something, you lost a business, you lost a show, you lost anything, and it turns to be that this is the best thing that ever happened to you.
So how are you able to take your gift and make it, Shabbos friendly, have the most amazing career with that stipulation as because it is a restriction at face value when it comes to your career. How did you channel your talent?
I didn't get the question. What do you mean?
What were you able to do alternatively to Broadway that would allow for Shabbos, like film or?
Oh yeah. So what I did was I made my own productions. I did 2 productions on off Broadway, 2 shows. One show I called it Never on Friday.
Wow.
And one show I called it Something Old, Something New. And both of them played on off Broadway, and they did very well, thank God. And that's all you can do. You produce your own shows, so you decide when the theater is closed and when it's open.
Dudu, have you considered writing a book about your life?
Yeah, yeah. We will do it one day. We'll do
You
it
have a
one
title yet?
No, I never thought about it really, because I think I'm too young.
You are. You're definitely too young. There's no doubt. But your story is very powerful, very inspiring, especially in modern times, because a lot of young people are raised on the notion of fame and shortcuts, and you know, unfortunately, life is such where you do have to compromise in order to succeed. That's what they're thinking. That's what they're told. And your example teaches otherwise. And I think it's a tremendous zechut. You said before a very powerful thing about your father, a Holocaust survivor. The previous Rebbe once met a Holocaust survivor who said the same question: why me? Right? Why did I merit to survive? The Frierdiker Rebbe said, zechut, chova. Merit, obligation. You merited to live because your life is an obligation to the world and to bring new life and Yiddishkeit to the world. I want to finish with one more question, if so. Throughout the years, were you able to receive feedback from people who were inspired by your example, both within the Jewish community, outside the Jewish community? Did you get this? Did you hear back from people how it changed them and their life and trajectory?
Many times, many times. I'll tell you one story about a guy who came to see me in Florida, in West Palm Beach. There's a big theater there by the name of Kravis Center. And he came with all his family. He has like grandchildren and everything. And after the show, he came over to me and he said to me, look, I brought my grandchild, my 25 years old grandson, to the show because I wanted him to see something, to see something different. And he said to me, this boy was dating a non-Jewish girl. And I was begging him, please, let her go, you'll find somebody else. Nothing helped. He said to me that after the show, he came to his grandfather and said to him, Grandpa, I'm proud to be Jewish now. And the next day, it was over. Stories like this, I can tell you like so many stories, but it's too late now. And yes. I just wish you to take the opportunity really to wish you and all the listeners, all the viewers there, a happy, sweet, healthy New Year and Gmar Chatima Tova. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And let me bless you back on behalf of everyone who watched, who was present, that Hashem should give you the strength, the energy, the koach, the ruach. Your charisma is palpable and infectious for many decades to come, to be able to bring joy and love and light to the world. And I believe that your impact in the next world has been felt, will continue to be felt. But in this world, Bezrat Hashem, we need you for many decades to come to continue to be the role model of an individual who marries principles and success. Bezrat Hashem, gesund, parnasa et achas.
Thank you, Rabbi.